welcome to another episode of the Chaos Chronicles.
Navigating the randomness.
I'm Jess.
I'm Connie.
And today we are hopping back into Eclipse.
Yes, we are. Before we get too deep into things, just a reminder, you can find us at all of our social media. And at the time this is airing, TikTok may or may not still be a viable option for us in the US, which is why we highly recommend you check out our other social medias, subscribe, and hit the bell to get notified about our additional content. We have our Who Knows What Wednesday episodes, where it is true crime or mystery or who knows what. And then we do our book reviews on Saturday, which if you would like to see our YouTube exclusive movie reactions to Twilight and New Moon, Jess has created playlists on our YouTube for the movie reaction as well as the, or wait, is
They're
it part
just
of the books?
They're a part of the book. So each book,
books.
each book has its own playlist. So it's in the very bottom of those playlists.
There we go. But you very much should check it out. And with that being said, I honestly don't remember what happened in Twilight, so we'll just jump into chapter 12. We assume that you're probably coming here from chapter 11, so yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go.
It's been a hot minute for us recording these.
A little, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, like a month.
It's been a hot minute, yeah.
It's been a minute. What a beautiful minute. We don't like Charlie. No, we like Charlie.
Love Charlie.
We don't like Edward.
Yeah.
I was thinking of your shirt.
Oh, yeah. We love Charlie.
Sorry.
All right. So, chapter 12 is time. After school, Edward makes Alice warn her that they are throwing a graduation party for all three of them. It won't be anything big, so there's no need to freak out, and there's no point in Bella trying to argue with Alice. Alice tells Bella that she loves the present that Bella is planning on getting for her. Bella starts to panic. She didn't know what she would have seen to potentially get Alice so excited. Bella asks why couldn't they just wait to tell her until it got closer, and then she starts panicking when Alice tells her that it's June 4th. They'll be graduating real soon.
Sweetie does not have a lot of spatial or self-awareness, huh?
Not even a little bit.
That's been well established by 2 prior books.
Yeah. So Bella starts to panic. She doesn't know how to say goodbye to Charlie, Renee, and Jacob, and being human. They drive back to Charlie's house, and Edward brings Bella in the living room, and Bella's still in a panic. Edward eventually asks what's bothering her before he goes crazy. He was worried that she's panicking about this party. But it's not the party. Bella was caught off guard by the date. She doesn't know what to do, but she has to be ready. Edward points out that she can wait. She has a choice. Unlike all of them, none of the Cullens really had a choice. Edward doesn't want her to go through this just because there is a looming sword over her head. He wants her to decide when there is nothing forcing her to change.
Okay, idealistic, but the fact is there is a looming sword.
There is a looming sword.
And it's called the frickin' Volturi. She's got way too many weaknesses, too. I mean, beyond the Cullens, technically, if she remembers him as an afterthought, there's Jacob, there's Charlie, there's her mother, who has not made an appearance in anything, which...
Thank God.
I was going to say, I don't think you're too upset about.
Not even a little bit.
There's Angela. I was going to say Jessica, but Jessica and Lindsay. Lindsay? Was she the brat?
Lauren.
Oh, I was close. Yeah, I don't think they're weaknesses.
No,
they turn catty. No one likes catty.
No, it's not fun. Don't be like that.
No, if you think you're cool, you're not. I don't know why I'm saying that. We have grown adults watching this. Never mind, that does not preclude catty behavior. We stand by our points.
So Bella then asks, what is she supposed to be getting Alice for a graduation present? Because she has no idea. And Edward tells her some concert tickets, but if it's sold out, that's okay. It's the thought that counts, and he actually knows that it's the thought that counts.
That's sweet. I thought she was going to be something like a blood bag. I don't know. Blood bag earrings. If I was a vampire and my dumb human sister-in-law basically was like, oh, I got you some ceramic earrings and they're blood bags, I'd be like, oh my god, I love it. But also, I'm warped.
Yeah.
So are the Cullens, though. More so, actually. They're more assholes than I am.
Yeah.
All right, I feel good.
So Bella asks Edward why he doesn't want her to become a vampire. So Bella's telling him that he can do so much better, and she knows that he isn't entirely convinced that he has a soul and that he doesn't want to risk her soul. Turning her into a vampire would be the most selfish thing that Edward can imagine. So Bella's like, this is my explanation, and Edward's like, okay, but I would be selfish to turn you.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
So basically, Bella's, yeah, got it.
Yeah. Edward wants
Toxic couple. Sorry.
Edward wants so much more for her. If he could be a human for her, he would do anything, pay any price. Bella chimes in now to clarify that him not wanting to turn her, does that have anything to do with him being afraid of Bella changing and him not liking her when she does change? Edward is surprised by the question, but starts laughing. It would be so much easier for him if she was a vampire. He wouldn't want to kill her constantly, but he would miss things like her heart beating. But she will always be his Bella, just more durable.
You know what? Tissue paper is more durable than this woman.
Honestly.
You know what? Maybe there are times when I'd miss your heartbeat is sweet. In this context, I'm like,
I don't think so.
It doesn't feel sweet.
No.
Doesn't feel sweet.
No.
Feels creepy and invasive.
I think it's also because since, my little epiphany of what Edward's been saying to Bella sounds like Jasmine and Jeremy from our Wednesday episodes.
4-parter. Check it out. It's most up.
Yeah, ever since I made that connection, I can't unknow that. And I think it's just like constant trigger in my brain.
It is. It's permeating. I can see it. Yeah, I don't like it.
I think we're ruined forever.
I think we are. At this point, the story can go whatever direction. It's just permanently going to be, all of a sudden, it's Jasmine Richardson and Jeremy Stanky.
Mm-hmm. That's all I'm seeing. And I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I'm actually very sorry that I made that connection.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it's apt, unfortunately. But you know what? If that's what it takes for someone to read this and recognize, ooh, maybe Edward and Bella are not couple goals, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Happy to help.
Yeah. So Edward asks if Bella will answer one of his questions and not spare his feelings. Bella agrees, and Edward asks she doesn't want to marry him. Kind of asks. It was more a statement.
That's Eddie boy. You're old enough to know how to phrase a question.
Now, the truth is, Bella doesn't want to be that girl. The girl who gets married right out of high school to a small town hick who gets knocked up by her boyfriend. This isn't the early 1900s, 18 years old. You don't just go and get married. She is smart and responsible and mature, but she's not one of those girls.
Whew, that needs to be unpacked in therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And also, bitch, you're basically doing that. You are signing over your life and signing up for immortality with him.
Yeah.
But marriage is scary.
I can't even go into this because it just, yeah.
No. We will say, when you are married to the right person, marriage is awesome.
Yes.
Marriage is
to
absolutely
the right person.
amazing.
Yes.
1,000,000 times better than being engaged. That is the worst type of torture, is being engaged.
I hated every second of it. Every second of the 13 days.
13 days, 2 years. Yeah. 10 out of 10 would not do that again.
No.
No.
No, I was so panicked the whole time, but
I was panicked for you. I mean, for
Yeah.
all things considered, it was low key.
Mhm.
See our wedding episode, we talk more about it, but both of us were more stressed for each other's weddings than we probably were about each other's wedding. No, hold on. English?
You were more stressed out about my wedding than your wedding, and I was more stressed out about your wedding than my wedding.
There we go.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just numb at that point by mine. I'm like, I just want to be married. I want to be done with this.
I know my goal for your wedding was I'm gonna do everything. I'm gonna block all the stupid people from you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna yell at the stupid wedding coordinator.
Bouquets. Hi, Jody. And you kept me hydrated. I swear,
Yeah.
if you hadn't been shoving the LMNT in my face, I say shoving in the best way possible, I don't think I would have drank anything that entire day.
No, probably not. Yeah. But no, that wedding coordinator was off the rails.
She was really nice one-on-one in person, but yeah, no, she was
not fun to deal with day of. No, it wasn't even that. It was the I need certain names from the seating chart with all the name cards. And then they have to be in alphabetical order. And then she's like, I'm looking for these names. They're in alphabetical order. It shouldn't be that hard, but she's like throwing them everywhere. And I'm like, what are you doing?
which would also explain how both my mom and my dad somehow didn't get seats at the reception.
Mm-hmm.
I find that kind of hilarious. I knew about my dad. I didn't know about my mom until recently. I've been married over a year.
I don't think I realized that, but with what she was doing, it does not surprise me.
No, I just think it's hilarious that, as far as I know, the only two people in that 150 person room who didn't get their spots was my mom and dad, who I made the entire seating chart around. Children of divorced parents, you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I tried to wrangle her in, and
I'm not
it was
blaming
so bad.
you. Honestly, I'm just laughing at it now because I look back and I'm like, what was I doing at that moment? Getting cut up by my dress because sequins, while they're pretty, they hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And then trying to probably get my bustle together with you and Jody.
Mm-hmm.
Pro tip, I don't know if we included this in the wedding
Crochet
video.
hooks.
Crochet hooks. Mm-hmm.
They're really nice.
They are very nice. Also, add more buttons than you think you need for a bustle.
Mm-hmm.
Go with the seamstress's recommendations because you will feel very uncomfortable when it starts pulling.
Yes.
Yes. Sidetracked. Wow, we really don't love Edward or Bella.
All right, back to Edward and Bella. So Edward is relieved and doesn't understand, but wants Bella to understand his perspective too. He was always that boy, and in his mind, he was already a man. He wasn't looking for love. He was too eager to be a soldier. But if he had found her, he doesn't doubt he would have been that boy who would have gotten down on one knee. Bella froze. Edward reminds her to take a breath and asks if she can see his side, even a little. Bella tells him marriage and eternity aren't mutually exclusive or inclusive to her. Edward tells her she doesn't need to make the decision today, but it's good to understand both sides. Whatever. The next morning, Bella went downstairs for breakfast and Charlie was already gone, but he had left the paper on the counter. Bella remembered that she needed to look for the phone number to get tickets for Alice's present. When she opened the page, Bella sees a headline, quote, Seattle terrorized by slayings, end quote. The police haven't confirmed this is all the work of one person, but if it is, they're responsible for 39 homicides and disappearances. They compared this to Gary Ridgway, who killed 48 over 21 years. So who we have not covered.
I was going to say, wait, is this a legit person?
It is a legit person. I looked it up.
Oh.
So we might have it on a Wednesday episode.
Why does that not surprise me that there's 48 murders in Washington?
I don't know if it was in Washington, but...
Oh, I feel like it would be Washington. Wait, hold up. Geography, Washington, California? Or is there something between the two of them?
Oregon.
That's between the two of them? I thought
Washington, Oregon, California.
I thought Oregon was more to the east.
It's all on the East Coast. Washington, Oregon, California. Yeah, that's what I meant. Washington, Oregon, California, in that order.
You know, I
oh,
will
look
be
at that.
the first...
King County, Washington.
There we go. I will be the first to admit, for as smart as I can be, and don't get me wrong, I can be plenty dumb too. One of the things that doesn't stick with me for whatever reason is where certain states, like lesser known states, that feels so mean to say, are in the US.
Yeah, I had that burned into my head. Yeah, quite literally.
I learned it to
So,
pass a test and then I forgot it.
no, my mom burned it in my brain. I'm talking like she would cut them out of a piece of paper and I would have to put them all together several times. And then even you take the states out of line, just put them on note cards, and I had to place them in order of where they are.
What an interesting life skill they were trying to imbue.
I don't know why, but it's still in my brain, so like it did something.
It did so well, it would make sense because when you and I have driven together, I have not historically been the GPS one. It's been you. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I'm kind of a control freak about maps.
Well, it works because our control freaks thankfully balance each other out where we're not control freak over the same thing. Because I'm like, we'll get there. We'll figure it out. It's fine. It's one of the only times in my life I'm chill.
Hmm.
Or apparently when you and I are trying to make decisions on food, then you and I have no opinions whatsoever.
Nope, neither of us care.
No.
All right, yes. So they're comparing this to Gary Ridgway, who killed 48 people over 21 years. So if this is one man, this is the most violent serial murderer in American history. The victims' age range between 15 and 67. There have been 18 women and 21 men, and the races are diverse. Their victims seem to be random and don't suggest that it's the same person. But there are enough similarities to rule out unrelated crimes. Not a fingerprint or hair has been left behind. Another pattern is all the victims disappeared at night. Bella was so focused in the paper that Edward startled her. She asked if he saw the paper today. He hadn't, but he knew that things were getting worse. Alice can't see anything and is losing confidence. She thinks that she's missing too much and her vision is slipping away. They don't know if this can happen, but looking at Arrow and Jane, one would think that things would intensify over time, like with their skills. Edward asks if Bella is okay with missing school today since they won't miss any new information. She is. Edward wants to go talk to Jasper. Bella didn't know why he wanted to go talk to Jasper, but she really didn't know much about his past. When they got to the Cullens, Carlisle, Esme, and Jasper were watching were watching the news intently, and Alice was at the bottom of the staircase. Emmett suddenly burst through the kitchen door, saying hi to Edward and then grinning at Bella, asking if she's ditching. Edward reminds him that they are both ditching today. Emmett laughs, but it's her first time in high school. She could miss something.
I truly love Emmett.
Especially for what is coming, Emmett is awesome.
He is. The only downside is the whole losing control and killing that poor woman when he found his singer years ago.
Yeah. Edward rolls his eyes and then tosses the paper to Carlisle, asking if he saw that they were considering a serial killer now. Carlisle sighed. There's been speculations on CNN debating all morning about it. Emmett suggests with enthusiasm that they go now, because he's bored. There was a hiss in response, but Edward agrees that they have to go eventually. Carlisle is concerned. They've never done something like this, and it's not their business. They're not the Volturi. Edward reminds him that they don't want the Volturi here. Esme points out that so many innocent humans in Seattle are dying. It's not right.
It's kind of ironic. Sorry, real quick. It's ironic that Carlisle, Mr. Save All the Humans, Be Good, is like, oh, a bunch of humans are dying, but it's not our problem.
Yeah. He agrees with Esme, though.
He does. I don't know. The more little deep dives I have seen the videos of Carlisle, the more I'm like, he kind of feels a little virtue signaling ish. I mean, all the Cullens kind of do.
Oops.
The only one who's relatively true to their nature is kind of Rosalie, and then Emmett is the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's why I like them. Anyway.
More true to themselves. All right. So Edward abruptly looks at Jasper. He's right, and that changes everything. Jasper's thinking about something. Everyone else is confused, like we are. And Edward tells Jasper that it might be better coming from him. Jasper hesitates and tells them to be patient. Bella is one of them now, and she should be understanding this too. Jasper asks how much she knows about him and his past. Bella admits not much, and Edward tells Jasper he's sure he knows why he hasn't told her the story. Jasper nods and started to pull up his sleeves. Bella watched, and Jasper held his wrists under light so Bella could see the raised crescent marks on his pale skin. She recognized his scars look exactly like hers.
For those who don't remember, from James going chomp chomp on her.
Mm-hmm.
First book.
Yup. Jasper faintly smiled and tells her he has lots of scars like hers. He pushes his sleeve higher. Quote, "At first, my eyes could not make sense of the texture that was layered thickly across the skin, curved half moon crisscrossed in a feathery pattern that was only visible, white on white as it was, because the bright glow of the lamp beside him threw the slightly raised design into relief, with shallow shadows outlining the shapes. And then I grasped that the pattern was made of individual crescents like the ones on his wrists. The one on my hand. I looked back at my own small solitary scar and remembered how I'd received it. I stared at the shape of James's teeth, embossed in my skin forever. And then I gasped, staring up at him, Jasper, what happened to you?" End quote, end of chapter 12. What?
All right, folks, buckle in, strap down, strap in, strap on, whatever it is. Chapter 13.
All right. Chapter 13 is Newborn. And we're getting into Jasper's past.
About time.
Which is pretty darn cool, actually.
Again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'll die on this hill. Almost all of the other characters in Twilight Saga series are more interesting than Bella and Edward. Edward has a little bit, but like Bella, what's the phrase? If she were spice, she'd be flour. Which would explain my whole gluten allergy. I don't like flour. I don't like her. Whole wheat.
All right. So Jasper answers Bella quietly. The same thing happened to her, repeated 1,000 times. Their venom is the only thing that leaves a scar. Bella was horrified. Why? Jasper didn't have the same upbringing as the rest of the Cullens. But before he tells her his story, Bella needs to understand that there are places in the world when the span of aging is measured in weeks and not centuries. To really understand why, she needs to look at the world differently and look at it the way it looks to the powerful, greedy, and the perpetually thirsty. There are places that are more desirable than others. Some places can be less than restrained and avoid detection. Those who exist that way can feed without attracting notice. Most of the covens in the south don't care if humans notice. The Volturi keep them in check. The Volturi are the only ones the southern covens are scared of. The north is very civilized in comparison.
Ooh, there is again some racial undertones here.
I know. I was like,
Stephanie, let's talk, honey.
know.
Actually, no, I have stuff to say to you, so you shut up and listen. Anyway.
Yeah. And if you don't know about the U.S. history, I'm assuming, if you're
we do
from
have
other
listeners outside of the U.S.
We do.
It's Civil War,
North
versus South,
Yep.
North won.
Yep.
It's very complex. We do not have the time to get into that, nor do I think you want to hear about it right now. But
Probably not.
The South was the Confederate Army, the North was the Union soldiers.
Yep.
Which I believe comes into play here in a second.
Yeah, actually it does. Yep. But the South is a different world. The immortals down there only come out at night and will spend the day plotting their next move or anticipating enemies. The covens barely notice the existence of humans and will fight for the most control. The less vampires there are and a denser population, the more one can feed, so they plot to get rid of the competition. Others had the same idea and started plotting, but the most effective tactic was invented by a more young vampire named Benito. He came from somewhere north of Dallas and massacred the two small covens that shared the area near Houston. 2 nights later, he took on a stronger clan and he won. He created an army of newborn vampires. He was the first to think of it and was unstoppable in the beginning. Very young vampires are almost impossible to control. One vampire can be reasoned with, but 10 to 15 is a nightmare. They'll turn on each other easily. Newborns are very dangerous, but are still possible to defeat if you know what you're doing. But they're slaves to their own instincts, and that makes them predictable. Vampires south of them realized what was coming and decided to make armies of their own. All hell broke loose, and eventually the Volturi stepped in with their guard. They sought out every newborn in the bottom half of North America. Anyone found with the newborns was immediately executed, and this took them almost a year. There are few witnesses left to speak of what it was like. The rest of the world stayed sane, though, and they owe the Volturi for their present way of life. When the Volturi left, the survivors quickly staked their claim, and it wasn't long before the covens began to dispute again. The idea of newborns was already there, and some couldn't resist. The Volturi's presence hadn't been forgotten, though, and covens were more careful this time. They now selected humans with more care and gave them training and gave the Volturi no reason to return. The wars continued, but in a smaller scale. Every once in a while, the Volturi will have to take care of someone who went too far. Jasper stared off, and Bella realized that this is how he was changed. Yes, when he was alive, he lived in Houston and was almost 17 when he joined the Confederate Army in 1861. He had lied to the recruiters and told them that he was 20. His military career was short-lived, but promising. People always liked him and listened to what he would have to say. He was promoted through the ranks quickly. His first battle was Galveston, and I hope I said that right.
Galveston.
Thank
Galveston.
you. Yeah. I don't know.
We should know this. I got family in Texas. I should know this. We remember
Galveston?
the Alamo. That's what's important.
Yeah.
I'm all about finger guns this episode. Limiting commentary. Therefore, fingers do the speaking. That's sign language.
So that was his first battle, and he was the youngest major in Texas, and that wasn't even acknowledging his real age. He was in charge of evacuating the women and children from the city. He left with the first group one night after they reached the city after dark. Jasper stayed only long enough to ensure everyone was safely situated. Once he was done, he got a horse and headed back. He found 3 women on foot and assumed that they were some stragglers. He got off the horse to see if they needed help. When he saw them, he was stunned into silence. They were the most beautiful women that he had ever seen. All of them seemed young enough to be called girls, and he knew they weren't lost members of the party. The girls pointed out that he is speechless. Another woman leaned into him and deeply inhaled. Lovely. The last woman put her hand on another and spoke quickly to her. They agreed he looked right, young and strong, and she wants to keep this one. Jasper's hairs on the back of his neck were standing up. He didn't understand what was going on, but his instincts told him that he was in danger. One, Maria, asked his name, and Jasper told her. Maria tells him she truly hopes he survives. She stepped closer and he froze. A few days later, he was introduced to a new life. The three girls' names were Maria, Nettie, and Lucy. They had recently survived a battle, and they formed a partnership of convenience. Maria wanted revenge and wanted her territories back. They were eager to increase their herd lands. Their herd lands? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because they're considering the people in the cities their herd, their cattle. Don't like that.
Nope.
Don't like that. Don't call me a cow. Don't call me a cow because you think I'm a cow or because you see me as a blood bag. Either way, like,
It's not great.
my hands are going to do the talking. And what does this say? Hypothetical, not admissible in a court of law. I'm not a violent person. I've just worked in customer service for a while, okay?
So the girls were putting together an army and were going about it more carefully than usual. Maria wanted a superior army, so she sought out specific humans with potential. She taught them to fight and to be invisible to humans. When they did well, they were rewarded. Maria was in a hurry, though, and wanted to move fast. Newborn strength started to decrease around the year mark. Maria added 4 more men to her army. Maria was pleased with Jasper because he was better at combat than others. He was rewarded often, and that made him stronger. She put Jasper in charge, and it suited him. The casualties went down dramatically. They didn't know about his ability yet, but it was effective. Maria grew fond of him and started to depend on him. Jasper was eager to prove himself and pulled together an army of 23 strong new vampires, organized and skilled. No one had done this before. Maria was ecstatic. They made their way to Maria's former home. She unleashed her army of enemies who only had 9 newborns at the time and a pair of old vampires. They took them down easily. They also did it without attracting notice. Maria became greedy and started eyeing other cities. Then others came from the south. The fight was intense, and there was worry that the Volturi would return. Jasper was the only one of the 23 to have survived the first 18 months. Nettie and Lucy turned on Maria eventually, but they won that. Maria and Jasper held Maria's original home, but the wars continued. The conquest idea was dying out, and most of the fuel came from vengeance. So many people had lost their partners, and that was unforgivable. Maria and Jasper always kept a dozen newborns ready to go. When they outgrew their usefulness, they disposed of them. Years passed, and Jasper was sick of it all. Decades later, he developed a friendship with a newborn who remained useful and survived his first 3 years. This was Peter, and he was civilized. He was assigned to deal with the newborns, but more like babysit. Then it was time to dispose of them. When it was time, Peter took them aside individually with Jasper and tried to convince Jasper of a few who had potential, but Jasper told him no. About halfway through, Jasper could tell that this was taking a toll on Peter, and he was trying to decide whether or not to send Peter away. He called another in. Suddenly, Peter became angry and furious. He was a fighter and a good one, but he was no match for Jasper. The female Jasper had summoned was named Charlotte. He yelled for her to run, and he bolted after her. Jasper could have pursued them, but he didn't. Maria was upset with him for that. 5 years later, Peter snuck back for him. Maria was deteriorating in her frame of mind, but when Jasper was different, he noticed a change in her emotions. Peter came back and told Jasper of his life with Charlotte and told him about options he had never dreamed of. In his 5 years, they'd never fought, and they'd met many others in the north, and they would coexist. Jasper was convinced and ready to go. He was relieved he wouldn't have to kill Maria. He had been her companion for as long as Carlisle and Edward had been together, but the bond between Jasper and Maria was nowhere near as strong. He traveled with Peter and Charlotte for a few years, but his depression didn't fade. Jasper didn't know what was wrong with him until Peter noticed that it was always after he hunted. With every human victim, he would faintly remember his other life. When he saw their eyes widened, it looked like the last night he was Jasper Whitlock. But the feeling was stronger. He could feel everything his prey was feeling, and he would live in their emotions as he killed them. Bella has experienced how Jasper can manipulate emotions, but think on how the feelings in the room would affect Jasper. It started to become too much for Jasper. His depression got worse, and he wandered away from Peter and Charlotte. They were civilized and wanted peace, but Jasper didn't want to kill humans anymore. But what choice did he have? After a century of instant gratification, self-discipline is challenging, and he's not perfect. When he was in Philadelphia, there was a storm during the day. Jasper wasn't completely comfortable with being out during the day, but he was. He ducked in a small diner. Suddenly, she was there, expecting me. She hopped down from a high stool. She tells him he kept her waiting for a very long time. Alice chimes in saying he ducked his head like a good Southern gentleman, and said, "I'm sorry, ma'am." Alice laughs and Jasper smiles down at her. Alice held her hand out and he took it without stopping to make sense of what was happening. For the first time in almost a century, he felt hope. Jasper took Alice's hands, and Alice grinned, saying that she was just relieved. She was starting to think that he wouldn't show. Alice told him what she saw, and she made him so optimistic that they went to find the Cullens. Edward rolls his eyes at Jasper, saying they scared the hell out of them too. Emmett and Edward were hunting and were away. Quote, Jasper shows up, covered in battle scars, towing this little freak, he nudged at Alice playfully, who greets them by name, who greets them all by name, knowing everything about them and wants to know which room she can move into. End quote.
I'm just imagining that. And I love it. And I also love the Edward Alice sibling relationship there.
100%, yes.
That part I actually really like.
I love these chapters that are just talking about their history.
I'll have to find it, but a couple of independent like film students and film studios, they actually took Stephanie's screen playwrights that she wrote out for a couple of these backgrounds, like Alice becoming a vampire.
You told me about that, yeah.
One of my favorites is the diner one for Alice and Jasper. So I'll have to find it and send it to you because I don't want you digging too much and getting spoilers. But it's really sweet.
That's cute.
It's a little different than what's described there, but it's very sweet.
So Edward continued that when he got home, all of his things were in the garage. Alice shrugged. His room had the best view.
Now that is little sister behavior. No offense.
That wouldn't have been me.
Good point. Different family dynamic, but
But I can see it's generally a little sibling thing, but that was not me.
no, different situation, but yeah.
Bella tells him that was a nice story, but the last part, the happy ending with Alice. Jasper agrees Alice made all the difference. Alice whispers, quote, "An army, why didn't you tell me?" End quote. Where was the motive? Why would someone create an army in Seattle? Jasper guesses that there's an army of newborn vampires in Seattle. Fewer than 20 is his guess. Whoever made them just set them loose and it'll only get worse. The Volturi will have to step in soon. He's actually surprised that they haven't yet. Carlisle asks what they can do. Jasper tells him if they want to avoid the Volturi, they have to destroy the newborns and soon. He can teach them how, but it won't be easy in the city. They'll have to lure them out. Edward points out that the army may be for them. Maybe they won't have to lure them. Jasper narrowed his eyes and Carlisle's widened in shock. Esme points out that Tanya's family is also near, but Edward points out that they aren't in Anchorage. Alice insists that they aren't coming for them, or at least not yet. Alice has been getting strange flashes, but not enough to make sense of anything yet. Edward growls, "This is knowledge. Someone knows that she can't see anything until the decision has been made. Someone is hiding and playing with her visions." He points out that Arrow knows her well, and if they didn't want to get their hands dirty, be an easy way, Rosalie suggests a favor. Someone in the South who should have been destroyed was offered a second chance. If they can take care of a small problem, this would explain the slow response from the Volturi. Carlisle asks why. There's no reason, but Edward disagrees. Arrow thought he would have Alice and Edward at his side. He thought of this power in his future, and it intoxicated him. But then the thought of Carlisle, he's jealous and fears that he has what Arrow wants, and tries to not think about it, but can't fully hide it. The Cullens are his competition. Besides their own, the Cullens have the largest coven that they've ever found. Carlisle breaks the silence. They're too committed to their mission. It goes against everything they've worked for. Edward is sure they'll clean it up, a double betrayal afterwards, so no harm will actually be done. Jasper agreed with Carlisle. The Volturi don't break rules. Besides, this is very sloppy. This person is a threat. They have no idea what they're doing. The Volturi aren't involved, but they will be. Emmett roared, "What are they waiting for then?" Carlisle tells Jasper they need him to teach them how to destroy the newborns. There was pain in Carlisle's eyes. Jasper tells him that they will need help. Would Tanya's family be willing? There are 5 mature vampires, and that would make a huge difference. They would have a huge advantage. Carlisle tells him that they'll ask. Jasper holds out a cell phone and tells him that they need to hurry. Carlisle's voice was shaken, but took the phone and called. His voice was low and quick. Carlisle's voice changed, and Edward groaned. "Damn Laurent." Bella is confused. And we're pulling out the book.
The book.
Irina was more involved with our friend Laurent than we knew. She's holding a grudge against the wolves for destroying him to save Bella. She wants... He paused, looking down at me. "Go on," I said evenly as I could. His eyes tightened. "She wants revenge, to take down the pack. She would trade their help for our permission." "No," I gasped. "Don't worry," he told me in a flat voice. "Carlisle would never agree to it." He hesitated, then sighed. "Nor would I." Laurent had it coming. This was almost a growl, and I still owe the wolves for that. "This isn't good," Jasper said. "It's too even a fight. We'd have the upper hand in skill, but not numbers. We'd win, but at what price?" His tense eyes flashed to Alice's face and away. I wanted to scream out loud as I grasped what Jasper meant. We would win, but we would lose. Some wouldn't survive. I looked around the room at their faces. Jasper, Alice, Emmett, Rose, Esme, Carlisle, Edward, the faces of my family. End quote. End of chapter 13.
So, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I loved knowing Jasper's backstory. I like that now we have that more... I'm a very organized, strategic, planning person. And so
yes.
now I can relate to Jasper. I'm like, heck yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. You are the organized half of this. Thank you. Yeah, it does feel good to have that background.
Mm-hmm.
I think my annoyance in this just comes as now that I'm hearing this as an adult, having not read these books since I was 15, 16, maybe. Yeah. They're other than Jasper, they're all being so naive.
Yeah.
I'm like, this isn't there's no way Carlisle, who was with the Volturi for a couple centuries, has no idea about any of this sneaky, tricky, double switcheroo-y. Like, Rose she's got a point there. She's like, no, this makes sense. And Jasper's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And like Jasper's giving helpful stuff. And the rest are just kind of like, what? Oh, like, just fucking vampire powers wasted if you're stupid.
Don't be stupid.
Don't be stupid. That's both a statement and a prayer.
Yeah. I mean, also, I don't know. I'm glad that they didn't give the Anchorage Coven time of day when they're like, give us the wolves and we'll help. F off.
I know. It's very much like, really? Because Laurent tried to kill Bella. So, like.
And he killed a lot of other people. So, like.
Yeah.
He was causing problems.
He was causing problems. But it is interesting. I saw a video, and I couldn't send it to you because spoilers. But you know how we talked about how with James and Victoria was very much like, oh, this is my mate, yada, yada, yada. And James, like, it's not that serious.
Yeah.
It's not that serious. The videos that I've seen are saying it's kind of the same thing for Irina and Laurent.
I was going to say, because if it was serious, he wouldn't have left.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Laurent was like, it's not that serious. And Irina's like, finally. Yay.
We're in love.
And like, Irina is old. She is old. Those three quote unquote sisters, which again, I have a video I would love to send you, but it's got spoilers. Like, they have an interesting story. They aren't really sisters, but like they're old. But they were created as sisters because the one who created them liked their looks.
Oh.
Like one, I think Tanya was like the actual niece of the woman who created them, but then the other two were brought in. And like Irina, I think she was the female bodyguard of like a chieftain of her tribe or whatever in this, whatever the Slovakian area. And like she was versed in like their combat fighting styles. So like, again, everyone has better stories than Bella.
Yeah, we're team. I can't speak for you. I am team anti-Bella. Anything anti-Bella.
Oh, yes. Yes. We are on the same team. I just, again, my frustration is with her as much as you can be frustrated with a 17-year-old, but my frustration is going towards like, this book was put towards very impressionable young girls and boys.
I do have to keep interjecting here. Normal people, when they're reading books, they are not analyzing it like we are. They're not. Normally, people aren't taking bits and pieces, but yes, this is really not good.
Well, that was traumatizing. Well, not as bad as normally.
It wasn't that bad. This one wasn't
normal.
that bad.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But we will see you guys next week. You can catch us on Wednesday for our Who Knows What Wednesday episodes.
Yes.
Or next Saturday for the next chapter of Eclipse. Until then, adios.
Bye.